Really glad to have all these children here. I'm used to talking to school children, having done it for 36 years. When I got the call from Brother Calhoun inviting me to speak today, I readily agreed. I hung up and I said a prayer. Oh my God, what have I got myself into? And then I realized the day we were going to do it. And my mind started saying, Mayday, Mayday, Mayday. And then I wondered about, the fact that a lifelong Catholic come and talk to, speaking to a Baptist choir. But as has been said, of my 4 children, 3 are Baptist. And not only Brian and Tracy, my adopted daughter, are members of this parish, but my daughter Carol and her husband have been Southern Baptist missionaries for over 20 years, overseas. So I've been here before, and that makes me less nervous speaking here. As I prepared for my talk today, it was really good because it gave me a time to reflect on my personal prayer life and how it's evolved over the years and how it's served me well. Of course, there's lots of types of prayers. There's silent prayer, verbal prayer. There's group prayers like today. I think the most important type for me, at least, is having a prayer partner. And if you're married, I know you guys aren't married, but if you're married, I hope that would be your spouse. My wife Mabel's sitting over here, and I start every day and end every day on our prayer couch, where we do Bible study as well as other devotional prayers. And that has really served us well. There's different kinds of prayers, of course. There's prayers of praise. There's prayers of thanksgiving. There's prayers of help when you have a crisis. There's prayers for making decisions. And of course, there's prayers of petition. But you know what? In Thessalonians, Paul says, pray without ceasing. And I think that's good advice. I think our whole prayer, our whole life is a prayer. No matter what we're doing. If we're cutting the grass, washing the dishes, changing a diaper, it can all be a praise. If our attitude is right, it can all be a praise. Because what we're witnessing is God's creative and loving work with everything we encounter. And if you start looking at the world that way, it really changes your whole attitude. To me, the most profound words in the Bible are very simple. God is love. And God sent His Son Jesus not only to redeem our sinful souls, but to put a human face on God, so it wasn't so abstract. And of course, Jesus said, everyone you see, if you see Him in them, you should. To me, prayer is a conversation with God. Most of you probably have a best friend that you talk to almost every day. You talk about your joys, things you're upset about, things you worry about, things you're happy about, things you maybe would like them to do for you. But God, unlike regular friends, you never have to worry, if you want to use a Facebook term, you never have to worry about Him unfriending you. He's always there. My favorite play is Fiddler on the Roof. I was in the play at the Springer many years ago. Of course, I saw it many times during rehearsals and performances. And Teddy is an amazing, amazing character, the main character, because he talks to God about everything. It just comes to him so naturally. Whenever something comes up, dear God. There's the one scene where he's marrying off one of his 5 daughters. He talks to God about that too, having 5 daughters. and they're celebrating the wedding, and some local Russian soldiers who are supposed to cause a problem come in and kind of tear up the place, trash the wedding. So Teddy, after it's all over, he's looking around the ruins of the party. He says, dear God, he says, I know we're the chosen people. But couldn't you choose someone else once in a while? There's two expressions I like always. One attributed to St. Francis. Preach the gospel always. And if necessary, use words. Yes, we have to use words, but, words of action speak louder than words. So everything you do is a form of prayer. Another nice, neat example, phrase I have, I went to Conyers, Georgia, to the monastery there once for a retreat. And near the end of the retreat, they gave us a phrase that I'd never forgotten. If it was illegal for you to be a Christian, and you were arrested and taken to court, to trial, would you be dismissed for lack of evidence? Think about it. Every once in a while, God has to get our attention, has to knock us off our horse. As was mentioned, I had been to 2 tours in Vietnam. On my second tour, I was out in the Ashall Valley near Laos in heavy combat. And there were 7 times I should have been killed. The first time, we were in this battle to take this hill up by Hamburger Hill, another one. And as we attacked, somehow the enemy got behind us and really started cutting us down. As a matter of fact, everyone who was in that group of my company that day was killed or wounded, including me. Then God sent us kind of a messenger, you might say. Another company that had come to help us got pinned down too. But one man, a guy named Gordon Roberts, who was here recently for the dedication of the wall, stood up, single-handedly attacked the hill, and took care of killed 8 of the enemy soldiers. I would be sitting here talking to you if he hadn't done what he had done. Another time, the 7th time, I was riding in a Chinook helicopter, one of those big helicopters with 2 blades on an administrative flight, just minding my business, going to pick up some people. And I was reading a book. This book, I still have it. And the book is The Source by James Michener. James Michener writes very good books. And this one was kind of a historical version of the history of the Jewish nation. And it was on the 21st of April, 1970, 44 years ago. I was reading this book, and I was on page 830. And the part I was reading, I still have a mark right there. You can see, might be able to see the little writing down there. I was reading on page 830 about this rabbi in a small village named Zaki, in the village of Safid, who was so full of joy that he woke up in the middle of the night and woke up everybody else in the village and said, "We are so happy here. We need to go to the temple and thank God for his blessings." And as I was reading that sentence, ground fire hit the helicopter and I got shot in the head. Fortunately, it was a scalp wound from here to here. And as I lose more and more hair, one of these days you'll be able to see the scar. I think that was a little more painful than Saul getting knocked off his horse. But it got my attention. As I lay in the hospital recuperating, two thoughts crossed my mind. One, God obviously has more plans for me for the rest of my life. And second, the prayers that my wife and Brian and the other kids and friends and relatives were saying for me every night had been answered. I was spared. Well, after I got out of the Army after 10 years, I had to decide what I was going to do with my life. I have a degree in journalism, and I went down to the Ledger and Inquirer. Well, it was the Ledger and the Inquirer back then. Took some tests and passed and could have been employed there. The Chamber of Commerce offered me a job as the one-person Visitors and Convention Bureau. We didn't have much here in town for visitors and conventions to come for. But a lot of people tell me that I would make a good teacher. So I went back to the monastery up in Conyers and spent a weekend asking for guidance. And the message I got was, you need to be a teacher. And it was the right choice. Thank God. Matter of fact, after 36 years of teaching, what really means so much to me and other teachers is for a former student to come back and say, you know, you really made a difference in my life. Or you really got me excited about reading. Or you gave me the confidence that I could learn. We've always prayed over other major decisions, such as the first time I ran for the school board, and for this time. And the main sentence is in the Lord's Prayer, thy will be done. No matter how it goes, I'm at peace with however the election comes out. Well, as we've said many times, this is a national day of prayer. I think, you know, remember our nation was founded by Christians. They came here to get religious freedom. Our Pledge of Allegiance says, one nation under God. Our coins and currency, every piece of money we have, says, in God we trust. And we need to do that. Now, there's a lot of people, small, bold groups, that are attacking a lot of our religious beliefs. And the way they do it is you can't say you believe in that, or you don't believe in marriage, or whatever it might be, because then you're taking away our rights. When in fact, they're taking away our rights to express our beliefs and to live by them. But we don't condemn those people. In 2 Timothy, chapter 2, verse 25, it says, in the hope that God will grant them repentance, leading to a knowledge of the truth. Now, I'm an optimist. You know, I think God's in control. He's going to take care of stuff. But I also worry about these court decisions that are coming down, saying that this that we know is illegal and immoral is now legal. We've got to pray about that. I pray for our young people. It seems like every time you turn on the TV news or pick up the newspaper, there's something about young people getting killed because of drugs or other violence. We need to work on that. You know, God's dealt with evil like we're experiencing today in the past. If you read the Old Testament, there's all kinds of examples of civilizations falling because they drifted away from God's mandates. Like I say, I'm an optimist. I believe God can take care of this, but He expects us to pray and to pay attention and follow His marching orders. Thank you for letting me share my beliefs today. I think every day should be a national day of prayer. May God's blessings be on all of you, and please pray for me.